2, 1, and we're live.
All right. Welcome to the next episode of Dungeons and Dad Jokes. If this is your first time joining us, please feel free to let us know. Subscribe if you want to join the live chat, which we have one of us in there. So please subscribe and join us. So last week, our party went to the archives. On the way to the archives in the city, Evangeline pointed out to Kadeth that his sword had changed magically and that it now emanated an evocation aura. Kadeth took a mental note of that, but continued to lead the group into the central building, the Great Archive. Inside, Seeker watched several of the ethereal beings milling about and sitting at tables as if using the library's resources. Once in the center of the main portion of the building, two halls could be seen, extending one to the west and one to the east. Evangeline and Fix both began moving toward the west, toward what appeared to be the Arcana side. However, Kadeth, waiting for direction from the Raven Queen, he pulled out his sword and waited for that pull. As he stood there, he felt pulled to follow Evangeline and Fix. Being pulled westward, he followed the others into the Arcana section of the library. There, they faced a book golem and managed to disassemble it without much damage. They began to research, finding maps and books on the Second World. Within this information, it was discovered that 7 of the 16 great cities fell in the Second World. In response to this, Shaji, the city that they have discovered that they are now in, was home of the Sokakai people and built a sphere around their city to protect it. They also developed the powerful of what powered, they also developed and powered an orb of energy with intended use to protect the rest of the other great cities as well. Upon lining up old maps with current maps, they saw that 8 still aligned with monoliths shrouded in mystery in the Ninth World. After taking a long rest, an archivist appeared within the library, who began pulling books and stacking them for the questions the party had asked. Among this information, each one of the group learned more knowledge, making certain skills increase. Kadeth gained more knowledge of the Raven Queen herself, learning of her ascension and her possible exclusion to the destruction of the Second World. Among the writings was a smudged name, which he presumed was the Raven Queen's mortal name. You are currently standing in the library. What do you do?
Book it?
But
Well then, did we ask the archivist if we could take the books with us?
Yes, and he said no.
Oh,
Well, then
I hear that. Oh.
Well, then I would Fix would read and
He
commit to
didn't.
memory
He
as much as
didn't
we could.
say no, but he did say they like for them to stay in the archives. But I figured if I said no, that would keep you guys from stealing all their books.
Is Owlbear up or no tonight?
Owlbear is up.
Waiting for
Chasers.
access, please.
I got
to get that fixed. We had our cat fixed. Never been the same.
Building. Thank you.
You are welcome. So this is where DM waits on party to discuss their options and their direction.
Well, are we done reading?
We've already left the library.
Oh, I was
Have
not
you?
aware.
I was not aware of such a thing.
Only our tokens. Okay, Rhonda's still in the little.
Read the room, folks. Oh wait, that's the library.
I was reading as it was fundamental.
Yeah. And now we get
maybe
that drum
mental.
Riff. A drum riff. Get it? Riff. Anyway.
Sorry.
Once I was done reading the books that I had, I would start studying that contraption in the middle of the room as best I could.
Oh, okay.
And then I would ask the archivist if he has any books specifically on this device.
He will pull out one particular book and give it to you. When you flip through it, you do quickly discover that this is a time and location meter device. It has got the time, not as in hours, but more like time of year, seasons, mixed with years in it. So it's like multiple, it's about a 7-year cycle in there with seasons and such. You also see in the center of it that there is locale in there. You start to, as you flip through it, you start to recognize a couple of things with it because of your work at the orrery. You do recognize some of the star formations.
I'm going to walk up behind Fix and look over his shoulder.
Well, Fix would have actually gone to Evangeline at some point and conferred with her.
Evangeline wants to... Fix, I want to know. Do you think this is traveling through space and time?
It feels more like it is out of time. Out of sync with time.
I'm talking about the contraption. You think the contraption's out of sync with time? Yeah, I'm talking about the thing that looks like the clock.
Oh, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
That's
is
what
if
he's looking at.
Yeah, I don't know yet, and I start like comparing notes with Evangeline.
All right, you guys can each roll me investigation first, or one of you can roll with advantage since you're aiding each other.
Investigation.
How good's your investigation?
I have a
She's
plus
the
6.
investigator.
You have a plus what?
A plus 6.
I have a plus 1, so roll with advantage.
All right, let me find my die. There it is. Don't want you.
Ouch. Oh.
You don't want you. Don't want you. Don't want you. Don't want you. That is a 24.
Nice. All right. As you're looking at it with Fix, the two of you together, you start to line up some stars and such. At this point, what you see in the center of this, you would estimate probably fall-ish time of year from beyond. From the beyond. You would estimate the way the stars are lined up that this is showing where Shaji was showing on the map. That's what the sky would be in the fall.
And hold on.
And if I need to pull that up on Owlbear, I can.
Over there in
or
the
you
plains.
can look at it in Owlbear if you want.
In the
you don't have to.
fall in the plains.
Right, in the fall, in the plains, it's where number 8 is where Shaji is. If you're looking in Owlbear, because that'll keep you from having to open a map or whatever.
Yeah.
If you don't want to.
Do you have it in Owlbear?
It is in Owlbear.
Then I will close my map that I sent everybody because that one doesn't have numbers on it. One just has names.
Map are we looking at?
The one right.
It is.
Go ahead,
It's actually the only map in Owlbear. map, like world map.
The world map. Okay, got it.
Yep. Map as what you would think of as a map.
The Fix, do you have the maps? Or are they still just laying around where we were looking at them?
They could be anywhere.
Yeah,
it's easily gotten to.
Yeah.
That's why I asked him if he had them.
So based on that and Fix's work at the Orrery, is this the sky as it would appear in today's point in time, or in the past, or the future?
With that investigation, you can't really tell. You do recognize some constellations within there and are estimating that that is where the sky is showing. So none of you have been to that area. You're just estimating that that is what the sky would show. There are stars in there you don't recognize because, well, you've not mapped the sky from where that's at.
How far is that from where Fix did his work?
Fix did his work in here. Oh, it's further south, isn't it? Rarman. Fix did his work. I will draw in a different color. Let's pick. I don't know what color.
Well, you got red on there that Rob can't see. Why not blue that I can't see?
I almost picked blue, but thought, well, maybe I shouldn't pick blue. So let's draw on here. This is where Fix is from. Fix. The big fat F. Oops, not there. Oh, there you go. That is where Fix is from.
Not to be confused with Foresight.
That's true. I could spell out your whole name if I needed to. Here, F-I-X. I don't draw well with a mouse or with a mouse.
So,
What? Let's see.
is that far enough that the constellations would be different?
You are estimating.
Because, like, the constellations that we see at night, Senior would be able to see the same constellations at night for Australia.
Parts of them.
Parts of them.
Yeah, not the ones to the north.
Like you can't see the Southern Cross, and I can't see the Northern Star.
Right, but they would still. You could still
But
figure
like
them
Orion,
out, especially
Orion's belt. We can both see.
Especially since Fix, this was kind of his job.
Yeah. That's what you're figuring. Like what you would normally see central, maybe in your sky, is kind of off to the side in this, in what you're seeing. It's off to the side, kind
So
of
the
thing.
constellations are there. They're just in different locations.
They're in
And
different locations, and there are a few you don't recognize.
I will take some time to pull out my probably 15-yard parchment and document the constellations
15-yard
that I don't recognize.
All right. All right. I also underlined thrice and key because that's where other people are from. All right. And number 8 is where Shaji was shown on the map. So yeah, you that's what you see as far as investigating this. What else are you? Uh-oh, we lost Robert.
Oh, we sure did.
So that's what you got for that investigation. Hey, he's back.
Give me 1 second. The echo.
Crappy internet, sorry.
It happens.
All right, there we go.
Okay, so that's what you see as far as the constellations in the center. Around the edges is the time, in essence.
Now, how is this design compared to what is currently used.
It's very odd. It's unusual. There are, like, you work in the orrery that shows like the location of stars in relation to like the sun and other places that you believe are planets or whatever. You know, you have that orrery. And then of course you have the timepieces that you carry. You know, you carry a timepiece and other people carry timepieces. There are still sundials in this world, but most people use a timepiece of some kind, a wound clock of sorts. But this is like, you don't know of any place that actually keeps track of like time of year per se. I mean, you have kind of like calendars for that and celebrations for that to mark times of year, but you don't use like a timepiece for it.
Are there any moving parts?
That you can see.
If there's any sort of diagrams or anything in the book that we have, Fix will copy those to maybe recreate it at some other time.
Are we looking at it from the floor or up those stairs?
I think we do all.
Yeah, I imagine you looked at all directions and.
Predicted magic already, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and you saw several books glowing.
And did we get a rest?
Yes, you did get a long rest.
Okay, so because I would try this invisibility again.
Okay.
The archivist.
Yes.
Is he there?
Yep. Yeah, he's standing in front of the thing.
Archivist!
He's standing there waiting for instructions.
Once we leave, I'll do
Have
this.
we asked him if there's any books in the library that explain what this is and how to use it, so to speak?
That's the book that we have.
Okay.
There's one book on this. Yeah, with the detect magic, you saw that this central area does have residual magic, but also, you know, the various books in the walls, and the archivist is glowing. And
what did the book say about operating this thing? Is it an orrery?
You're going to read through this whole book, basically, right, Fix?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So, what you're going to glean from the book.
Okay.
What you're going to glean from the book is that there is some mechanical elements to this, but not much. The mechanical elements of it basically help shift the outer time section. From what you glean, the main circle around the outside turns. There's not a hand that turns around it. It itself turns. That the center section doesn't have, that you see the stars and stuff, doesn't have any kind of mechanics to it whatsoever that is strictly magical in nature. As far as you can tell, mechanics-wise, it is stopped.
It is stopped?
It is not moving. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Did you hear my question, though?
What was your question?
Is it an orrery?
I mean, as far as you can tell, I mean, it's kind of like an orrery, as far as you can tell, with time and constellations and things like that showing on it. It's kind of like an orrery.
Okay. I'm sure you know what an orrery is, right, Fix?
Well, seeing as I've worked at one for the past couple of years, yes.
Simple yes would have sufficed. I don't know your previous history. But how does that translate into time? I see time elements here as well as locations. Usually it's a central star with planets around it and how they move. But this has a time component I am not akin to.
It is unlike any that I've come across, and for those specific reasons as well. Noticing that the one is stuck, Fix would take his little smith's tools, or he'd like see if he can get it unstuck.
Get it unstuck. All right.
Do you put on your jeans that show your butt crack?
Oh yes.
Yes, Evangeline.
Can I assist him?
Yes, you can assist him because you are a tinkerer yourself.
And rather than climbing up the contraption and trying to like avoid being smacked by the bars and everything that's he's trying to get moving, he would utilize his mage hand to do it.
Okay. All right. You do find towards the back, you go up the set of staircase, there's that level area that's like even with the timepiece itself. There's a walkway around it. You go up there, you do find a little door to get down into the mechanical area. It's very flush with the floor. You probably would have missed it if you weren't actually looking for a way to get into there. You open it up, you look down in, you start to see those mechanics. There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with it. Roll me your Smith's tools with your bonus, for your hand.
Okay.
So your magical bonus.
At advantage.
At advantage, because Evangeline is helping you.
28.
Nice. Okay. You get down in there and you start kind of fooling around with it. Let's see.
It had a springle spark struck in the hydrospanner.
Okay. You find in there that just a few little spots, every now and then you just got to give it a good kick. Bam!
Or smack with the hammer, as the case may be.
Smack with the hammer.
It's a tried and true method.
It is. And it begins to move. It's super slow.
But it's moving.
But it's moving.
Can I roll an insight on its movements to see what it's going to be like in the next 10, 20 minutes or so?
I mean, sure.
Because
it's a thing.
What?
Yeah.
Can I go? It's the front of the library here where the sunroof is, that you can look up and see the stars or whatever.
Yep.
I'm going to go out there and investigate that.
Okay.
I got
You're
a
gonna
21.
look at the sky. 21. All right. As you kind of poke your head underneath the little thing, you're like, yep, that worked. And you just watch it for a minute. You see that it does pick up a little bit of speed. You're figuring it's probably just hasn't moved or slow because it just hasn't moved in so long. Yeah.
And the cobwebs out.
To see how it's changed, because I'm sure some stuff's changed.
Okay, you cast detect magic.
Yep, marking it off. Yeah, marking it off now.
All right. You are going to see the magic that you saw earlier in the center of it start to brighten ever so slowly.
I'm just watching it. Go ahead, Rhonda.
All right. You are watching the stars.
Taking notes.
As you're watching them, it takes you a hot minute because, when you watch things move so slowly, you kind of forget where they started from. So it takes you a hot minute to realize things are moving. Looks like the stars are moving.
Okay.
Was that for me or Rhonda?
That was Rhonda. She's looking at the skylight.
I'm gonna holler at Seeker to see if he sees to come out and see if he sees anything different about the ethereal people.
That is a good thing. I did cast the see invisibility.
Okay.
So I will go and take a look around and see if anything's changed.
All right. You start watching the ethereal beings. The ethereal beings, their movement has always been very fluid, very not. It didn't seem out of time. The average person walking was about the speed of an average person walking. They're speeding up. No, they're slowing down. Opposite. They're slowing down.
Are they able to interact with me?
Not as of yet. They still don't. I mean, as far as you can tell, they still don't seem as though you exist still.
They're
I'm
slowing.
going to run back to the door of the arcane section.
I come back to Evangeline. They're slowing down, but they're still not able to interact as of yet. Let's give it some time.
And I'm going to go and I'm going to get Fix's attention and tell him to check his timepiece. Fix.
He would do so.
All right. This is the first time you've checked your timepiece in a while. Apparently,
Like-
your timepiece has stopped.
What time did it stop on? How long ago?
It stopped maybe 2 hours ago, ish, is what you're figuring.
Does that coincide, taking into account the differences? Like, this is hurting Fix's head trying to figure this out, but trying to take into account the differences in the time that he felt it should be versus the time the watch should have been, and all of that. Does he feel like it was 2 hours ago? And if so, what happened at about that time?
It was about 2 hours ago. You feel like it was about 2 hours ago. What happened at that time? You were doing research. It was after your long rest, and you were, reading a bunch of books about forging and various other things.
Well, he would do the obligatory tap on the face of the watch thing, make sure, see if it's not just stuck, and look at the archivist and
The
say,
blind.
yeah, look at the archivist and be like, WTF?
And the archivist goes,
he'll pull out a book, and there's a book about what lands in your hand is basically, the title would be something like, The Magic of Time.
Fix would all of a sudden not be so concerned with his watch. Like, he's still concerned, but he looks at this book and he starts reading it.
Some of the things you do recognize in there, actually, although it is slightly different because it's an older magic. You do recognize some of it as being some of the things that you are able to do already. And in that, it does talk about certain timepieces. Timepieces struggle with shifts, and the timepiece, the only metals that they can find that doesn't struggle with the shift is the obtanium.
Make a watch out of it.
He did collect spare bits and pieces of it.
Yep.
That was Robert, not Seeker.
Yeah, and that was Joe pointing out that he did.
and it's in the notes. He picked it up. The same place he picked up the tools that he didn't think about Evangeline.
Cadet, you started to say something.
Yeah. Have I already finished the book, the one book about that I was reading about the gods and whatnot?
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, I'm actually going to go to the archivist.
Okay.
And ask him if there are any books either in here or in that other room of books that relate the gods to tarot cards, or any books about quests from gods.
He'll raise his hand and pull out some. They come from the other direction. They're all coming from deeper within the library. They're not coming from the arcane section.
Watch your head, seeker.
Ah. Somebody gets stacked in the back of the head. Oh, who asked for another book? No. And you start to get these books. As you're gathering some of these books, you're seeing books that are, some of them appear to be fictional works, tall tales, tales of champions,
Right.
heroes' adventures, like you would, the Iliad, the Odyssey, those kind of things.
Right.
You're kind of collecting some of that, and mixed within that is other types of firsthand accounts of miracles, miraculous things, having heroes traveling from town to town to aid the people, and things like that. You're finding those kind of things. So you hear a lot of those tales,
Okay.
but nothing in relation to the other thing. What was the other thing that you were trying to remember exactly how you asked it?
Books that relate tarot cards to the
Oh,
gods,
tarot cards,
or
that's
talk
right.
about both, and then quests.
Yeah. As far as you can tell, quests, they seem to be, like the Iliad, the Odyssey. You're given this quest, you go and search for the helm of whatever. You do see those kind of things, but you don't see anything about tarot cards.
Question.
Yeah. Answer.
Where we're at and what we're finding and stuff is all second world.
Mm-hmm.
In the second world, who had the sword? Valsharoon or the Raven Queen? Or did it change hands in the second world?
I think it changed hands in the second world. I don't remember for sure. I thought you said something about it last week.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know what I can do and see if it's here.
Well, I don't think it's clear in the notes, though.
I can reiterate.
It talked about her gaining the, like the book talked about her gaining the sword of Valsharoon.
Mm-hmm.
But
Wrong
I don't
way.
know if...
Yeah. She gained the sword of Valsharoon.
and
Used
was
it.
the sword instrumental in her gaining her
Huzzah.
godhood?
From what you
Okay.
surmise from the books, the answer is yes.
Okay.
She already has it because we're in the library, and the book that you read talks about her getting the sword from Valsharoon and demanding her place as a god.
Yeah, but it could have still been in the Second Age, just maybe earlier.
Just
in the
earlier, yes.
Second.
And then it was during the Second Age that you are figuring she ascended. She grabbed the sword. She ascended using the sword. The sword was instrumental. She ascended. She claimed her godhood status. She then, sometime later, maybe 100 years or so passed, she handed it to Karia.
Which was the name from 2 weeks ago.
Who no longer has it because you do.
Right, and no longer needs it, is what the Raven Queen told me.
And you found her shit.
Yeah.
In a nice pile. Not little shit. Her
Yeah.
Yep.
But I'm finding, so I'm gonna look for what, basically looking at the overall, like the big picture on some of these stories of the quests, and see if I can get any hint of truths that might be there, because sometimes in stories like those there is a hint of truth, even if the story was made to be more interesting. So I'm going to look for
Yeah.
that, but also look at any that seem to be non-fictional accounts of things,
All right.
and see if
Could-
there's any similarities or differences with our situation.
Okay. You are studying your little heart out.
Yep. Till we
Foresight.
decide to leave.
Si, senor.
Are you doing anything but reading?
For right now, I am. There's no pockets to pick. I mean, so
Waiting for those ethereal creatures. All right, come on.
I'm waiting for the rest of them.
He's like, come to daddy.
Come to daddy.
Money. Anyway.
All right. Cadets, after some time for research, you are going to see some truth within those stories. Oftentimes, it is a feeling or a passion that drives these people to do what they do, not necessarily a direct call to action. So every now and then, there is a direct call to action from a god. But nothing like what you have experienced. Not necessarily, you're not seeing them overlap per se. You're not seeing like two gods calling people to do something that they want done. It's almost always individual gods.
So them all working together is very unusual in our situation, or seemingly working together.
It seemed that we stumbled upon them without their real knowledge. Like, it didn't seem they were prepared for us when we showed up.
What it felt
Keep
to me
talking,
was
I'll
that
be right
they
back.
were looking for someone, and they were waiting to see who would do whatever it was to quote unquote answer the call. And it just happened to be us, and that's what surprised them. Like, they didn't expect it to be us, they expected it to be someone else.
Perhaps. Do you think that they have begun working together more now that their influence is waning and they are seeking or they are having to combine their powers to accomplish their goals?
It's possible.
If I
Do we?
understand.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I was going to ask, do we know what happened to the gods?
They were forgotten.
There was something that happened. We'll have to wait till Jody gets back to confirm when it was. But there was something that happened, I want to say in the third or fourth age.
Yeah.
The third, she says.
Third. I think it was the third.
It was in the third age. Something happened that caused them not necessarily to lose power, but to, like, something happened that made people forget them, or something like that. I don't know if she can clarify, because I know she's mentioned it before in passing.
Yeah, through your studies, you guys recall that early in the third age, there was a war among the gods, basically, that caused scars upon the earth, the world, and pushed them, they caused so much damage early in the third world that many of the mages, the arcanists, even the clerics, paladins, those of divine power, pushed the gods back, basically. So the gods began to take a back seat, not being so involved in the lives of the people per se. And they took a back seat. Because they took that back seat, there were followers lost. By the seventh age, they were all but forgotten.
And is my understanding correctly that gods derive their power from those that worship them and their influence?
Most do, yeah.
What are you thinking, Kadath?
I don't know. I I'm thinking that at least to a point, it's not a coincidence that we, especially the three of us, me, you, and Seeker, were chosen, given that we follow, or in your case, have an aptitude for following a god. And I don't know that anything necessarily happens completely by chance. What so I know you said most of the quests that were in the stories were people just did stuff and called it a quest, basically.
It was more like passed down stories over time, word of mouth, kind of thing. This person did this great thing. It wasn't somebody heralding their own story necessarily. It was almost always by people that were affected by it in some manner.
Okay. Trying to think how to word what my brain is trying to put together.
Did someone besides myself fall asleep?
It wasn't me.
No, I don't think anybody's asleep.
Oh, I keep hearing like snoring in the background.
I know, I do too, and I'm like,
I thought
okay,
it was
wait a
just me hearing that.
That sounded like the throat clearing thing by
Is it
Ferris
Alex?
Bueller.
Oh.
Might be Rhonda.
She said 1 second, and she's listening.
Oh, where was my brain going?
And of course, now it doesn't happen.
I know.
So, but does there seem to be any kind of stories?
Hold on a minute. I'll go close this door.
Appreciated.
It's Alex.
Where's Alex? Okay.
Wow, I don't
seem
think
to
we've
be-
ever heard him before.
Like reading between the lines, and for the ones that are more, or at least seem to be more factual accounts, does there seem to be any kind of mention of how the gods asked people to do these quests or anything like that?
Oh, you got a wide variety, from actual verbal command to visions to literally
Right,
being
all the
thrown in the middle of a
standard stuff.
situation. Yeah.
Is there anything that's similar to the tarot cards?
No.
Okay, so they're doing something different for us. Okay, I'm just going to keep reading through them and try and get a better understanding, especially like if there's mention of specific gods, trying to get a better understanding which gods ask for what kind of quests, and like who seems to lean towards one kind of quest versus another kind, or anything like that.
All right. There are a wide variety. There are a wide variety to that as you're looking at it. Some gods, and as you run across gods or whatever, I'll let you know again. Like, oh, this reminds you of that. But some gods are strength based. They call people to go and fight these beasts terrorizing towns or things like that. Some gods are a little bit more political in nature, whereas
Oh, I love that.
One sec, I'll fix that.
Sorry, guys. I just had
Oh,
to turn
don't
off
fix
my
it. It's
camera.
great.
It keeps kicking me out. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Echo, more of a delay at that point.
Yeah, I.
It's like
Sorry.
I'm playing
No
in
worries,
a
Rob.
tunnel or something.
I need to
Coming.
send
It's like a
new
chasm.
links out. I've just been lazy and tied up with other crap. So.
I'm leaving to come home tomorrow, so it won't be an issue after that. It's just now.
well,
Gotcha.
yeah, you'll get knocked off less, that's for sure.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And I
But
closed the door. Did that help with the snoring?
It certainly did.
He
I don't
was
think we've ever heard him snore before.
he's exceptionally loud tonight. That's the way he's sitting in his chair.
So some gods lean toward feats of strength. Some gods lean toward more subtle measures of manipulation, things of that nature. More
I'll
charismatic
lead you over a
based.
cliff.
Yeah, some more leadership oriented. There are some in there, because this is the Great Library, you're going to hear of assassinations and various other things, and even gods that stir up chaos and stir up trouble, and you're going to read stories about trying to build great armies and liches. What the heck is a lich? You guys don't even know what a lich is in this world, because ghosts are like, okay, they're just echoes of the past or whatever, but you never really
Like what we're seeing
encountered a
here.
whole lot of undead, So you're getting a wide variety of various gods and stories and whatnot.
All right.
Seeker,
Yes.
you're going to see those ethereal beings come to a complete stop,
Now, will they talk to
frozen in
me?
time. They're not talking to you still.
Are they
They are-
solidifying?
They are frozen. They do seem to be solidifying.
I thought so. Okay.
Also, the detect magic pings, you're going to get kind of a ping from the arcane, from that center circle. It's brightening, and it's brightening a little bit faster. The clockwork is moving. You guys are seeing that starting to move. Anybody who's standing in the arcane library, and that can be you too, Seeker, I just didn't know where you were. Anybody who is still in the arcane library, you're going to start to see blue energy emitting above that clockwork area and the stars. You're going to start to see it emitting above it something very similar to the orrery that you work on, Fix.
Archivist.
What is it?
It's an orrery.
Oh, gotcha. My bad.
It looks
Is
like
the
a central
archivist-
thing with other things kind of moving around it.
Gotcha. Is the archivist frozen?
The archivist is still exactly as he was.
But he's still interacting with us.
I asked the archivist, why are the ethereal people becoming more solid? Is it because because fixed the device so that they can come back into their normal state?
It is possible.
Because I'm able to, like, the ethereal people, I'm able to almost physically touch them now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are those of us without the ability to see in the ethereal starting to see
Starting
shadows
to
of
see
them?
Well, you might see shadow,
Right.
like where they may be, but you're not seeing their physical forms yet. Kind of that little bit of, like a heat wave.
Gotcha.
I
But
think
they
we
are
should
coming
take a
into-
long rest and let them finish coming back in.
I mean, you could just hang out. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, why would we leave? The ethereal are becoming solid again. Fix did something.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna stick around, I'm gonna keep looking at books.
So am I.
My next thing I'm gonna ask him about is Valsharoon.
One of the books that he gave you for stories will pull up to the top. And another book from history will come your way. What you kind of learn about Valsharoon is he was the god of undeath, the god of the undead, necromancy. Even in a magical world, this is frowned upon, and definitely frowned upon by the gods that are lawful or nature oriented, because it was considered undeath is considered out of order. Yes, unnatural, and it's not in order, and it's chaos, and that's not the way life happens.
Or death.
Question.
Or death, yeah.
Fix knows who runs it now, but he doesn't know how old it is. So he goes to the archivist and asks if there's any mention of the Jagged Edge in history.
The Jagged Dream.
Jagged Dream. Sorry, my bad.
We kind of got
too much Nickelback,
I got
I
stuck
guess.
on it too.
Any Nickelback is too much.
Well, that was how she reminded you.
It could be worse. You could have said Jagged Little Pill, but
That's Alanis.
You know, everyone hates on Nickelback. I got no issue with them.
I don't
so.
hate Nickelback. My wife and I had that conversation all the time. They are fucking awesome, and I don't care what anybody says.
I don't care how well they do that.
I love their songs.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't tell you a single one.
I'm sure I've heard them. I can't put song to artist most of the time anyway.
Ditto. So, but yeah, we'd ask them
I can tell
about
you what Mozart wrote, but no.
Yeah, same here. I have a lot of Mozart.
Right. That's what we. So the Jagged Dream. You mentioned the Jagged Dream, and the archivist just kind of stands there. He seems to be flipping through
going
catalogs.
through his Rolodex.
Yeah, he's going through his Rolodex, and he says, "I'm sorry, we have no information on the Jagged Dream."
so they're not that old.
The card index.
Cancer.
Yeah.
Okay. Fix looks a little bit relieved.
Oh, wrong kind of relieved. Never mind.
All right, after about 15, 20 more minutes, shapes begin to appear. For those of you who cannot see the invisible and seeker, they are becoming more real. Like you're being able to start to make out what kind of clothing they're wearing, what kind of races they might be.
Still no interaction.
Still no interaction, and they still seem frozen at the moment.
Well, I suggest we take a long rest so I can get some spells back. Because when they come into reality, we are either going to have a cordial greeting or it could get ugly. I don't know.
Well, let's hope for the former.
Of course.
Yeah.
But a warrior is always prepared. About how many hours have gone by, Jody?
Since when?
We don't know. Real hours?
Well, game. This is what you're asking, not
Buff hours, I guess, is what he's. I think is what he's asking.
game hours, because I would cast my spell again, and the one to be able to see.
Game hours since you started the invisibility.
Yeah.
Okay. I would say not a full hour has passed. I mean, you're pushing the hour.
Okay, I'm ready to cast it again if necessary. That's why
Okay.
I'm asking.
Okay. Guys just waiting around.
Continuing to read and reread and
Okay.
I'm reading my butt
Yeah.
off.
All right.
I'll be
All right.
reading a lot.
Evangeline, I am going to watch because I see this thing is getting brighter and it's moving and people are starting to appear, and I'm going to go out and check the stars again.
They've moved.
Is it still dark?
It is still dark. But they have moved.
has my watch started up again, or is it still stopped?
Your watch has stopped. Your watch has not started up again. It's going to take a little bit of time.
Your watch
You're
is not going to start up again because it's out of time.
You are going to be able to get in. Yeah, I'm going to say you're going to be able to get in another long rest if you really want a long rest. Before these things begin to move in the material plane.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Thanks.
Okay. So you're going to be able to get in a long rest. Even those of you who are just reading, I'm going to say you can do a long rest because you're reading. You're not doing any kind of strenuous activity by any means. So if you want to take a long rest,
might be strenuous.
Well, that's true. To some of you, if your intelligence is below a 10, reading is a strenuous activity. You cannot get in a long rest. You really have to work at that. You're sweating. No. So you'll be able to get in a long rest. If you want to take one, you don't have to, technically, if you don't want to.
I do because I need my spells back.
Yeah. At the time that you kind of, okay, we need to do something. We've been here for a long time. You will begin to see people, even in the arcane section of the library. People are appearing. They're materializing. They have materialized. They're not moving yet. But at the end of this about 8-hour stretch where you guys are still reading, resting, doing whatever you're doing, watching the stars, watching the people, you will begin to start seeing them move. They're moving super slow.
Now, Jody, are they all the people that are appearing are all people that I saw as ethereal, or just some new ones joining them?
No, these are only the people that you saw ethereal.
Okay.
They are beginning to move slowly. Among all of these people, you can see a majority of them are wearing finely crafted clothing of silk, satin, even cotton. Some of them are wearing leather, depending, like a leather. They're wearing like leather belts or leather shoes. Some of them have a cap that might be, or a hat that might be made of leather. Some of them are wearing like a corset style or vest or something that is made of leather. But majority of the fabric that you're seeing is silk or satin or cotton. All of them seem to have embroidery on their outfits of varying shades. You have all kinds of shades that you can think of as far as colors go. This is not monochromatic by any means. If it's a color, you're going to see it. As far as races go, you see human, elven, half elven. You see player knowledge. You're going to see halflings and dwarves and even gnomes. You're going to see one, as you kind of look about the library, you're going to see one tiefling. And you will see a couple dragonborn. The tiefling and the dragonborn give you pause. Simply because you've never seen these creatures before. I mean, you've seen humans mutated to have horns, but this is different. The skin tone is different, and they've got tails, and this doesn't look like a mutation. This actually looks like that's their being, that's their species.
Do they seem to notice us?
Not yet, because they're moving super slow.
Okay. So if we're moving around them, it's like they're seeing the Flash.
Yeah. If they're seeing you, yes. You are the Flash right now.
I'm half tempted to go to the temple and see what's appearing there.
Yeah.
I will note to all of you that everybody that is showing up was in the same spot or manner that I saw them as ethereal so far.
Just so you know.
I think it would be marvelous to have a discussion with a cleric that was a practitioner at the height of the god's power.
Maybe they knew him personally.
Say that again?
I think it would be fascinating to have a conversation with a cleric of my deity when the god was at the height of his worship.
Indeed.
And just Fix is assuming that's when this is from, as far as where it's out of place from.
Mm-hmm.
I've
Do you
read
wait in the library, or do you move?
I have read and reread and triple read these books. Kadeth, would you like to join me? And the rest of you are welcome as well.
Sure.
I'll
Fix will-
pass.
Fix will
This is like, ooh, a pocket. And they can't do anything about it yet.
Fix will hop up and head to the Temple of Gond.
Oh, goodness. All right. Who follows him to the Temple of God?
I'm going to Kelemvor's temple.
You're going to go to Kelemvor's? Evangeline.
I will follow Seeker.
Okay. Forsyth. Before I get to them, what are you doing?
Following lots of pockets, I imagine.
Out of pure curiosity, I'm going to follow Fix.
Okay. All right.
I want to
you
see what kind
follow-
of trouble he gets himself into.
All right. You follow Fix and Kadeth, and Evangeline and Seeker, you go to Kelemvor's temple.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Part of this I'm going to do with you all together, and then the other part, we'll ask questions of various things. You get to the temples, whichever temple you get to. You see that the people are starting to move a little bit more. They're starting to get animated. After just a little bit of time, while you're standing in the temple, kind of watching and waiting and seeing what will happen, all of a sudden, like they didn't pay any mind to you until just all of a sudden everything seems normal, and the nearest people to you have multitude of reaction. They jump back, they're shocked, a couple of them will probably scream. To them, you can gather, this is just straight up, you will gather, to them, you appeared out of nowhere. You just suddenly appeared.
Excellent.
That's what you gather.
Excellent.
What the heck? Who are these people?
I knew I was there.
I'll look at Seeker and say maybe they're ready to talk now.
Yes, I think. Possibly.
All right. Evangeline and Seeker, we're going to start with you. You are standing in Kalimvor's temple. A couple of the people that are nearest to you seem to be dressed in kind of that standard clothing that you saw at the library. A little bit toned down, not quite as vibrant of a color, but they're a little bit more toned down. They spot you first. They seem to be just basing on, what you know, they seem to be just average people. They're not wearing necessarily vestments of Kalimvor, but obviously they're in this temple for some reason. They probably do worship him. They're just not like the priests of the temple per se. But they jump back. They're shocked. They're looking at you. They're startled. To them, you have appeared out of nowhere.
I say, Kalimvor be with you. Where is the head priest?
You will see them start to relax just a little bit, and they will kind of put a fist to their chest and give you a slight bow as they're kind of eyeing you because you look. But you are donning the image,
It's emblazoned on
shield.
my armor and my shield.
So, so they're believing you that you follow Kalimvor, and they say, Kalimvor be with you as well. The high priest should be in his office.
Hey, I'm specifically looking to see if he resembles the guy who gave me or pointed me to the armor of skin or skin armor or whatever the hell it's called.
No,
Skin
he
of
does
steel.
not.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I
He
don't
does not.
see that guy anywhere?
You do not see that guy anywhere.
All right. Gonna try to find him then, the lead guy, head guy.
All right. You go to the office or the direction of which he points, which, because you've explored this temple already, you kind of know where you're going,
Yeah.
which is also very weird to them. You walk on, you go to the temple or to the office, and it's open. You see a gentleman there. He is human.
I greet him.
He stands from his desk and he greets you as well.
I am
says,
Varin Moore of the Order of Kalimvor. I go by Seeker in these parts as of now, but that is nearly a name that a sergeant came up with for me some time ago. I wish to ask, if I may, what is the last thing you remember?
He says, I am High Priest Xeris. That is an odd question, though coming from a visitor, I guess I should expect odd questions. The last thing I remember is eating my lunch. And he turns and he points to the table where there's a few crumbs from bread.
This might be hard to understand, but your entire city is one of 18, whatever number it was, that survived a cataclysm. You have been out of time and phase for quite some time now. Up until 12, 14 hours ago, you were ethereal. One of my members in my party had been tasked by Kalimvor and the Raven Goddess and others to try to right, apparently, the wrongs that caused that cataclysm. And I named to him which cities have survived, but are probably in a similar state as his. And I wish to know, was there a governing force here? Is there a conclave of mages and perhaps paladins, druids, clerics?
Yes, the high priests of the temples here form, in essence, a council to aid in decision making for the High Chancellor Belisnar.
Would you be so kind as to arrange an introduction? I do not wish to stab above my station, as it were.
I may be able to arrange such. You are the only visitors we've had in several hundred years.
Has it been? It has been several hundred years, right?
It's been several thousand, probably.
Several thousand years, actually.
I do actually correct him then. It's actually been several thousand years.
Huh. Interesting. He will go to his desk and he'll write down on a piece of parchment.
I will step up to Seeker and say, we're assuming that they have come to our time. What if it's not so? What if we have gone to their time?
No time like the present. That's why
We didn't determine that yet.
we don't know. You're very correct in that.
Is it still dark?
It is. It is still dark.
Why is it always so dark here?
Oh, it is dark here because we have unfortunately pushed ourselves out of the material plane.
Well, you're possibly back in it.
Possibly pushed back in.
Interesting. He will write down on his parchment.
Every time we say something, he writes it down.
Pretty
He's
much.
taking notes.
He will live in perpetuity through his notes.
You don't become
Next
high
week
priest
they'll be in
for
the archive.
Yep.
Most likely.
We have met your curator of your library system, and it's probably because of that entity that we were able to restart your clock. He says, unsure how to phrase that.
Whatever that thing is. That is good. So the curator worked.
Was that the intent?
Well, the intent was to have him, regardless of what happened to the rest of us, if should we die or whatever, that his magic would endure in order for people to learn of the histories.
Well, he was most helpful.
So candidly, what wiped you out? The other cities. You survived by coming out of the material plane, but what happened?
It was unfortunate what happened to all the other cities. Various casualties of divine war, I am sure of it.
The gods were warring with each other?
I believe so, yes.
Interesting. Yet it's the very gods who have tasked us with what I can only assume is putting things back to quote unquote normal.
That is entirely possible.
Do you have any tarot cards that are just lying about alone? Like
He kind of looks around.
not
Makes another note.
but
Get tarot cards.
hanging in the middle of the air or sitting on a wall somewhere. It's been a means of which they've communicated with us.
I have not seen such. I will keep a lookout for
Thank you.
such cards. If you don't mind, if you may wait here, or you may enjoy the temple while I send some messages to see
I
about.
rubbed my arm and I was like,
Okay.
I look at my arm and I rub it. I've explored your temple quite extensively. The blessing of Kellenbor is close to my skin, he says.
Close to my skin.
He kind of gets a quizzical look
Look
and
at
a
you,
half
it's like-
smirk.
Oh, what?
Physical looking what?
It's actually on his skin. He will get a little bit of a quizzical look and a little half smirk because he knows what you're talking about.
Okay, good.
It's the first thing that you've said that he knows what you're talking about.
Everything else was gibberish.
Everything else was gibberish.
I did notice that he didn't make a note on that.
No, he
He
did
already
not.
knew it. Yeah, it was already there.
He will say, "If you'll excuse me," and he will take his leave to make the
So-
proper arrangements.
Well,
So you're welcome to explore the temple. So I'm going to assume you're going to kind of do your thing in the temple for a little bit. Kadesh, 6. And Forsyth, are you directly with them, or are you kind of holding back, hanging in the shadows?
I'm just hanging in the shadows. It's much more fun.
Okay. All right. They're less startled by you because you're hanging in the shadows. You will have a couple.
Did you want a stealth roll?
Sure.
Oh, well, I only got a 10.
That's with your pluses and everything?
That's with
Holy
+7, yeah.
shnikes.
Wow.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, they get startled.
Even I see
Uh,
it by now.
Well, I'm not a rogue. I mean,
This is true.
True.
The people that are they're kind of coming to, and they get startled by you. To them, you have just appeared. You will kind of see the same thing because you're in the Temple of Gond, right?
Correct.
You will see kind of the same thing. People in there, not necessarily wearing any vestments of Gon or symbols of Gon, but obviously they're in the temple. It's pretty safe to assume they probably worship Gon. And you are sporting a symbol of Gon on your shield or on your breastplate?
Shield.
Shield. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So they will recognize that you have a symbol of Gon. So they are startled by you and taken back. They don't say anything right away because you can tell that they don't recognize you, but they do recognize the symbol. So they're not like on high alert. They do recognize the symbol.
Right. This would give them 10, 15, 20 seconds or so just to, collect their thoughts, make sure they're not, completely crazy. And then he'd look to the closest one and he'd say, fellow Gonsman, is your, that's one of their adjectives.
I
Yep.
like it. Gunsmith.
Is the high priest or high cleric or the person who is in charge of this temple available?
Yes. Yes. High priestess Halva is in her workshop.
Oh, can you take me to her?
And she's missing tools.
She's looking for her tools.
Look at her tools. They will motion you to a hall, which you are familiar with because you also explored the Temple of God.
Yeah.
So you kind of really already know where you're going.
Yeah, but I don't want to just be like, oh yeah, I'll go find. Like, there's some decorum there.
Right. So you head that direction, and you will hear by the time you even hit the hallway, you hear the clanging of like hammer on metal. She seems to be pounding out something. As you round the corner to it's a rather large area. It seems to have like kind of an office area on one side and a workshop on the other. As you walk in, you do see a dwarf, dark black hair, all braided to stay out of the face and whatnot, hammering away on an anvil. Doesn't even notice your approach. She's focused.
Fix will wait until a moment where he doesn't think it will ruin any of her swings or concentration or whatever to make himself known.
Okay. You stand there for a couple of minutes, and then finally she stops and she picks up what looks like to be a dagger. I gotta decide what kind of weapon it's gonna be. Pick up a dagger, and she's kind of inspecting it. So she's not hammering or anything. She's just kind of looking at it. She goes to set it down.
Is it good craftsmanship? Like, is there any visible defects or anything as Fix is watching?
Not that you can see. It looks magnificent.
In Dwarvish, he'll say, "Beautiful craftsmanship."
You'll kind of see her laugh. She doesn't really turn around right away, but she kind of laughs and she's like, "Why, thank you," back in Dwarvish. And then she'll turn around and she'll kind of startle because she didn't expect new people, strangers. She'll say, "Oh, you are visitors."
Yes. Fix it doesn't really act it, but Fix is a dwarf as well. So.
Yep.
Sort of. What was the last event you remember from outside of your city?
From outside of my city?
Yes.
Oh, gosh. You're asking me to remember quite a long time ago.
I don't remember outside the city. I'm only 87.
I'm too young to remember what it was like outside the city. So, I know dwarves live longer than that. She'll kind of think for a little bit. It's like, I think the world was kind of going in chaos, I do believe. Cities have fallen. We took on some refugees.
How long ago was that?
Oh, it's been several hundred years.
Well, it seems to have been longer than that. Probably a couple millennia, at least. Or several millennia.
Interesting.
Yes. So I fixed I don't even know what the name of it is. It's an Ori clock calendar. What do you call
it? Most of us just call it the timepiece, but I mean, it serves several functions for sure.
Well, I fixed the timepiece. It seemed to be out of sync and stopped.
Interesting.
And I think that we brought you back to our time, but I can't be sure. We've not left your city yet.
How did you get to our city?
Well, there were these fae, and they turned us. They turned us into trout, and we swam through a river and into some ruins, and then we went through some sort of field, and it came. The time was off. Like, yeah, it was not a pleasant feeling. Yeah. That's, and he'll like go into more detail that Joe doesn't remember.
The power source.
Yeah,
the field. The tool closets. The book of names.
Yep, sort of an obsessive account of what happened, including. And I came down here and I saw no one down here, so I collected some tools and made a tool set, a smithing set, so that I could study your. This metal that you guys seem to utilize. And then we went and we found the archivist, and the archivist provided me books on how to smith this stuff, and blah, 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 like he's just going on and on and on.
And anytime I feel like he's getting off subject a little too much, I'll tap him on the shoulder and say, maybe you should skip over that part.
Sounds like Corvo.
I would like to make it to my temple.
That's not a compliment.
Whenever he says you might want to skip over that, he will skip over specifically that part, right to the next part. So like if it's like maybe you should skip over going into the tool shed. He'd be like, oh okay. So then we left the tool shed and we went.
Yeah, that sounds like Fix.
Oh my gosh.
Skip
She'll let you
to the
ramble on
end.
for quite some time. You know, kind of taps you a few times and says, keep going. Okay, skip that. Nope, skip that one too. He kind of taps over. She starts
I'm
to
just
come.
standing in the
to
back
some-
laughing.
Right. You can see that she starts to come to some recollection. She kind of got stuck on that. When you walked in, it felt funny because it was out of time. And she kind of hits that recollection. And she says, you have been gifted with the magic of time.
I suppose you could say that. I'm not a chronomancer, but
There are things that you can do.
yes.
Having a keen sense of time.
Yes.
I have not seen one gifted in such manner and since before.
For what?
Fix is assuming she means before the cataclysm.
You asked us, she will confirm.
So- Have you talked to
could-
Gond?
You collected tools.
Yes. He'll show her the tool set. The smith's tools.
These are very, very fine.
They're
My
yours.
gosh. Well, these are not my tools.
They were here.
Where?
I got the hammer from that workbench and the pliers from that workbench, and like he's pointing where he got everything from.
You got everything from beneath the altar. You
Oh,
are not beneath the altar.
I misunderstood. I assumed they were. But there's a passage beneath the altar that goes to a workroom. I assume they were. That's your workroom.
No,
I can
We
show
have-
you.
please.
He'll
Uh-huh.
go. Is
As
you
she-
walk out
here's
there-
the question.
They
Here's the
are
question.
they are Fix's tools.
This is cool. As you walk out there and you go to like, well, it's right here. The lever's not there.
No, there was a lever right here. I pulled the lever. He saw me pull the lever. He'll point to Gadeth. So I might
And I'll
be crazy.
just nod slowly.
I might be crazy. He might be individually crazy. But the possibility for us to both be crazy,
Still pretty high.
yeah, we're pretty. We could, yeah.
That's pretty
Anyway,
high.
it
That's
was
actually
here,
pretty
and I
high.
have the tools to prove that it was here because I got.
Hmm.
As he's saying that, kind of a light bulb movement clicks. Oh, well,
Fix. I
Yeah.
think you were given those tools.
yeah. He kind of nods like, yeah, I'm figuring that.
It pays in this campaign to have a god.
And I'll actually look at I'll look at her. Wait, was it a her?
Horse size, we're
Yeah, it's
screwed.
a-
That's
I'll
not
look
true.
at her and tell her he's still new at following a god. He's learning. He's beginning to understand some of the things that some of us may in ways take for granted.
Well, it seems you have been gifted doubly. And she'll give you a little bit of a bow.
And I'm sorry, what was her name?
Helma.
Helena. Okay.
Helma.
Helva.
Oh, Hilva.
Oh, I thought you said Helga.
I'll spell it Halva. Helva.
Halva. Gotcha.
Distant cousin of Holla.
Allah.
Is she attractive for a dwarf?
I mean, yeah.
Like you're making her the character, so.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine beard. Oh.
Never
I
mind.
mean, that's kind of the definition of it, right?
It tickles when you kiss them. Yeah.
Your beard is bushy.
Okay, let me rephrase that. Seeing as Fix was raised with non-dwarfs, would she
With
be
non-dwarfs.
attractive to Fix?
Probably less so, to be
Okay, then.
honest. Yeah, she doesn't have a whole lot of human type quality. She's dwarf.
Gotcha. Okay. Who was in charge of making sure the timepiece worked properly?
Oh, that would be our orator.
And was it intended to bring you back into time at any specific moment, or was it just to continue in perpetuity?
Oh, it was to continue consistently. I did not expect it to stop, which apparently it had.
Well,
It hasn't.
it stopped, and then I fixed it. Because I'm Fix.
Oh,
That's what I do.
that's what you do. Got it.
But he would actually just kind of not rudely, but he'd get like a light bulb moment, and he'd go outside and he'd look at the sky, see if the stars, if they look familiar to him at this point.
They actually don't look familiar to you at all.
We're not in Kansas anymore.
Kadeth, we maybe should have left when we had the chance.
Well, it was still
I
kicking
was
in the
wondering
gear.
about that earlier, but I'm not too concerned. I feel we'll get where we need to go eventually.
Seeker knows he's exactly where his God intends him to be.
Yeah,
That's
there's
it,
a
y'all.
bit of
Kind
that.
of thinking the same thing, honestly.
That may be so, but Fix is more like nobody consulted me on this.
Gods are not known for consulting their followers on
true.
anything.
Well, I would appreciate it if they did. Okay, he came to me. He recruited me.
He borrowed my time. Oh no, you're muted.
So, and I would like to see about going to my temple at some point too.
Okay.
Okay.
Seeker sends
So-
Fix the Book of Jonah so that he can understand what it's like. I know that doesn't exist in this world, but I thought it was apropos.
But
All
I
right.
would wait until Fix is done, here.
Do you have a city council?
We do. The high priest of each of these temples serve on a council to advise and to aid in the decisions for the city, for the people. The
So a city
chancellor, of
council.
course, yes. The chancellor himself makes the final decision. That is Chancellor Belisnar.
Can you arrange
Not
a
Palpatine.
council meeting?
Palpatine, that's Chancellor Palpatine. This is the kind of city you're in. No.
Wait.
Yes, I most certainly can.
Great. Well, we're gonna go the Raven Queen, right? Right, Cadet?
Yes.
See, I remembered. I told you I would remember.
Very good.
Well, we're gonna go see his order. Thank you.
She will give you a little bit of a bow, and she will cut a slight, cautious side eye to Cadet.
Outsider.
I mean, I'm not exactly hiding my pen or anything.
No. No, I mean, it's just that you know where you found that temple.
Yeah.
It's not one of the main gods.
No, but that's okay. I'm used to that.
Yep. She'll give you a little bow and she'll say, I will begin making those arrangements post haste.
Much
Yep.
And
appreciated.
she will step out. She will excuse herself.
So before we go over there, what did we determine what age this city disappeared in? Was it during the Second Age?
You are
armor?
figuring it is toward the end, possibly right at the beginning of the Third Age, toward the end of the Second Age. It's in that cusp, basically.
Okay.
How most eras overlap, there is not a defined from this
Right.
time to this time. So it's kind of in that mushy middle area that there was high magic, high society, things of that nature in the Second Age, worshiping the gods. Everything was beautiful and hunky-dory. In this weird age, there was a god war basically going on, tearing up the land, destroying cities. Various things are taking place, and that's when you're figuring that's where Shaji had attempted what they attempted and no longer exist in the Ninth World.
Right. Okay. Just checking that.
So you're in that middle between ages years is when you think all of this took place, kind of thing.
Right. All right. Well, if we're done at his place, then I'll lead the way back to the Raven Queen Temple.
All right. Forsyth, are you continuing to follow?
Sure, why not?
All right.
It's more fun than a barrel of monkeys.
Well, I don't know.
And I know I had one.
So you head over to the Raven Queen's Temple. Being that you did not suddenly appear in the Raven Queen's Temple, the doors are open to you. As you walk in, you do see a couple of people milling about, mostly robed. You see them in black and red, mostly. And there's a few other people there, but they're also wearing black and red. They're just not in like full vestments per se. You notice right away that not a lot of just common folk are in here. These are mostly the people that are in here are priests, priestesses, are followers, hardcore followers, devout followers of the Raven Queen.
Okay.
And as you walk in, they will take note of you.
Oh, not surprising. I mean, probably the tallest one in the room, even as short as I am.
You are. That is something you have noticed. There, you don't see Goliaths in this city, though you see several other races. You do not see any Goliaths in this city as you've been walking. And
I'll approach one of them. That seems to be a priest, not a visitor.
all right.
And ask, excuse me, and I'll make sure that my, like, the Raven Queen symbol, both like that one, all the symbols that I've got are plainly visible,
All right.
old and new ones, because I've got a little mix of both.
Yeah, you notice that as they acknowledge your presence, they are definitely acknowledging that you are wearing those symbols.
Yeah. And I'll approach one and say, "Excuse me, where may I find the head priest?"
You may locate High Priest Scarlock in his room. They just call it his room.
And I'll thank them, bow, and head that direction. Scarlock?
Mm-hmm. Scarlock. And it is actually, if you want a spelling, it is actually spelled Skarlok.
Scarlock. Okay. And I'll head towards his room then.
All right. You head toward his room. His door is open. You will see him kind of standing pretty much in the center of the room. There seems to be like I guess he's closer to the far wall. There seems to be like a little pensieve in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
And he seems to be standing there just solemnly, kind of looking down at the pensieve. You notice right away, he is shorter than you. He's got long, pointed ears. He is elven.
Okay. Which I don't know that I've run across too many elves before. But...
I mean, I think Forsyth changed into one at one point, but...
What?
An elven female.
You've changed into an elven female, right? At one point?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
More than once. The great escape method.
I'm actually, while he's occupied with whatever he's looking at, I'm going to summon my sword, but hold it point down, basically.
Right.
Toward the floor.
So it's on display, but non-threatening.
Right. And
Gotcha.
I'll give just a gentle knock on the door frame, basically.
All right. Fix and Forsyth, you're kind of witnessing the standing behind Kadath. When he hears the knock, kind of waves his hand over the pensieve and turns around, gets a little bit of a shocked expression, very curious. Never seen a Goliath before. You're extremely tall. Never seen that tall of a human before, actually, because you almost look human. You're just bulky and tall.
Humanoid.
But he looks a little shocked because he notices you first. You're hard to miss. You kind of, command a room when you walk in. The tallest one there usually. But then he sees the sword. And he gets real solemn. And he says, "Welcome. I am High Priest Scarlock. How may I serve the wielder of the sword of Kariath?"
My name is Kadath Lakumakanu.
I love that name. Lakamakanu.
Don't spit when you say it.
I know, right? Lakamakanu. Want to do a little hula dance? Sorry, I get distracted by your last name.
I have some questions for you. I am not from this city, obviously.
I'll give you a nod.
Nor am I from the same time as you.
I think that's the bigger shock, Kadath. The city thing it's the time thing that's a little bit.
I'm just going to turn around and look at Fix.
I'm just laughing.
And Fix just has this like, am I lying? Look on it, like
Not lying.
Is it the look of be quiet?
Yeah, it's that I'm talking now.
That parental glare.
Uh-huh. That I usually would give to Forsyth and not Fix.
Fix is oblivious to it. He's just like
I'm sure.
What? Why are you? I was just telling him, like, making sure that he didn't. Go on, go do your story thing.
Thank you.
In time now too.
And I'll turn back with a grin, and then look at the guy and say, "What do you remember from what's in your recent memory as far as events, time frame?"
My most recent memory is that which you saw me completing.
Well, I mean more in the general sense of events in the world, or what may be happening outside.
You mean history?
Yes.
My most recent history is the fall and destruction of 7 other cities, working together with several others to protect this one and the remaining 8, well, 9 including ours. That was about, I'm guessing about 450 years ago.
It would appear that it was a much longer time than that, but as far as I know, it is possible that those cities were saved. At least most of them, some of them. We just learned of this recently, so we haven't had time to confirm anything specific. But with that, it has been, well, we call the time that your city existed in the Second Age, and the age that we are in now is the Ninth Age.
Cadet,
Yes.
if we were rather than them coming into our time, if we were taken into their time,
Which is a possibility,
those things never happened yet. Maybe I have a headache now.
Yes, and I don't know that we will be able to confirm anything until we exit the city and see what we can find out about the world. But I am going off the assumption that they were brought forward into our time based on the little bits and pieces I've been able to gather from what you and Evangeline and Seeker have said about what you all have read. And what we have been told, what we were told in the Temple to Gond.
Okay.
So yes, I believe your city has been brought forward in time, thousands of years potentially.
Interesting.
When we first arrived, your city it seemed to be out of sync with the material world and running at a different time from the material world.
Interesting. That is very curious.
What?
I said that is very curious.
It is. But I noticed you. How was it that you referred to this sword?
You are carrying the sword of Korea.
Ah, yes, Korea. That was. I read that name, and also after speaking with the Raven Queen, I was told that she no longer needs it, which I can only assume is why I was the one who found it, or in a way, maybe it found me. I don't know.
When last I saw that sword, that was but about 450 years ago,
Interesting.
and it was attached to the side of Korea.
And from what I gather, it seems to be the sword of Valsharun originally, which the Raven Queen used to secure her place.
She did indeed.
And now it seems that she gives it to someone when need arises.
The need has risen once more.
Yes, that is what I've come to understand, though I don't understand much about it. My companions and I, these two and two others, have been entrusted, if you will, with fixing things that are wrong in certain places within our world or certain events. In at least most cases, bringing order to chaos. Though sometimes causing
This is the
chaos
way.
to further the order.
Yes, we do what must be done in order to maintain the balance.
And I'm going to dismiss the sword, but reach into my bag and pull out the tarot cards. These cards have been left for us anytime there is something the gods have for us to do. But each time something was wrong with the cards until we completed whatever the mission was. And in almost all of the cases, we had very little idea what needed to be done.
The gods do work that way. Interesting. I have not seen such cards in really ever. That is interesting, though. I suppose your next is to watch for another card.
Yes, from what I understand, there are. I don't know how. I can't remember how many cards there are, but
I don't know. There's like 20 of them or something like that.
yeah. From what I
Tarot deck?
understand, there's I don't.
Oh, I
don't know
actually
how many
based
cards
it on
there
a deck of many things.
Oh,
Well,
Use
which
those
you
cards.
can actually use a tarot deck for the deck of many things.
Yeah,
Basically.
but I think it actually has less cards than an actual tarot deck.
yeah, it's
Oh,
23.
Is it 23? Okay. And we have 3 of them so far, right?
You have 2.
Oh, we have 2. Okay.
There has been talks that there's possibly a third that you don't actually have the card for because Evangeline saw a drawing on the back of the door that was similar to a tarot card. And you have a tapestry in your temple.
Right.
That is.
I'm going to be talking to him about in a moment.
All right. Well,
So-
in light of that, it is 8:30.
Oh,
Would you like to
didn't
take?
realize
I
that.
know I don't need to right now because I did earlier. Is anybody here would like to take a bio break? We can take 3-4 minutes to do so.
I'm good.
Okay.
Might take me just a little longer to hobble to the bathroom and back.
Okay.
I need one as well. So
All right, then let's go ahead and take a bio break because I just Senior reminded me of it, and I was hoping to finish this, but we've got several more minutes to go for this questioning, so I figured we'll pause there and let's
Right.
take a bio break.
Tonight, Jody, I don't have to be done at 9:30 tonight either.
cool. All
We
right,
might run a
and we
little
will be
later.
back in a couple minutes.
All right.
Right.
I feel bad for Rhonda though; it's really late for her.
Uh-huh.
And we're back.
No breather for you. All right. Kadesh, we're in the temple of the Raven Queen, and he is answering your questions. You learned a little bit about the sword of Carius, and that he confirmed to you, yes, indeed, the Raven Queen did use the sword and ascended.
Somewhat changing subjects, not completely. Still about the Raven Queen. What can you tell me about well, first of all, before I ask him, did I notice the tapestry still being out there when we came in?
How closely were you looking for it?
Knowing that Fix couldn't find the lever, I would have been looking for it.
Okay.
I think we all would have been.
Okay. All right. So when you were walking back to the office, you will see where the tapestry was hanging is still hanging there.
Okay.
However, the female figure with the sword prior to you walking through it is no longer present.
Okay.
What is present now on this tapestry is a male figure, taller, just all around bigger, carrying a sword.
Looks a little bit more like a Goliath.
Yeah, it looks a little bit more like a Goliath now.
Kind of looks like my figure on Owlbear Radio.
Yeah. Although it's a little bit more silhouetted. It's not defined. Like you can't see details. It's a little bit more silhouetted.
Right.
Carrying a sword. Seems to have, the way the silhouette is standing, it kind of looks like the back is toward the viewer of the tapestry. Kind of that weird angle where it's like you're looking over a shoulder, per se.
Okay, in that case, I'm gonna ask him, would you mind stepping out here in the hall with me for a second?
Indeed.
And I'll take him over to the tapestry and ask him, what is there anything different about this tapestry from what was on it when you last paid attention to it?
Very calmly, he says, there is indeed. And he will reach up his hand and he will touch the figure. He'll say, this no longer shows Carius.
So it did
It
show
shows
Carius
Kadeth.
before.
Fix says that. Like,
That's Kadeth.
Yeah.
Hey, that's my friend.
We're like, I have to stand back and watch his backside all the time. So yes, I know this is him.
I recognize this back.
Yes, Fix, I believe you're right.
That's typically how it is. Yes.
Well, this time anyway. And anyways,
When have I been wrong?
This is the priestess will kind of smile. He'll say, this is the first changing of hands of the sword that we have witnessed.
yes, when we first arrived to this temple, I already had the sword at that point, but I walked through the tapestry. The others attempted to walk through with me, but they merely walked right back out. Whereas I had a initially uncomfortable meeting with or encounter, I guess I could say, with the Raven Queen.
Yes, I imagine you did commune with the Raven Queen if you were able to walk through the tapestry.
Yes, and there was a bit of blood involved.
It will kind of give you a knowing smile.
which was unsettling to me at first. But I believe I understand a few things now that I did not before. Yeah, just kind of hinting to him that I'm not at the level of knowing about that officially yet.
Officially. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't really know much about it at all from your previous temple.
I'll be asking questions when I get back, but and that's where the Raven Queen told me that whatever her name was, Korea. That's where the Raven Queen told me that Korea no longer needed the blade. And I actually found Korea's clothing there. So I assume she's gone from this world.
I watched her step through this tapestry about 450 years ago.
Interesting. And she stepped through and came back?
She did not.
Oh, she just stepped through and stayed. Was this
She did.
after the time had been stopped or had been slowed in the city?
I don't recall time slowing. I would not know.
Was it after the cities were whatever it was that was being done to save them? Was it after that started?
It was indeed after that started. I believe it was when the seventh city fell.
Well, I'm interested to see what the results of our trip here may have on the outside world, and whether we have indeed pulled your city into our time, or somehow ourselves gone to your time.
Wow.
But if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
I have none. That's not entirely true. I have many, but none of which I think I need to know.
And if we are back in my world, I will once I've found out one way or the other, I will certainly send word so that you can know when we are. And there's a city that I am from called Thrice. I don't know that it existed in your time.
I do not recognize the name of the city.
But it is at the feet of the Black Riage, near a pass, and I'll kind of describe the area basically.
Okay. You described the area of Thrice, and
It's kind of describing where Cerdan's Pass is and the rivers and all that stuff. But assuming that some of it may have changed, and I'll make sure I realize that, or make sure that he knows that I realize that.
I'll say the area of which you describe is nearly directly west of Ziga.
Ziga.
Probably through the mountain pass at Hidden Naresh.
Number 6.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Let me...
So
You
you've
have it
heard of-
underlined on the map.
Yes, it is 6. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You didn't name all the places there.
No, I
right?
did not.
I think it
It
was
is-
all in the notes, but I didn't read. I
Yeah.
didn't pay attention to that too close.
It's also, but the map that I sent you also has the cities labeled. They're not numbered; they're labeled.
Okay. Did he actually mention Hidden Naresh?
He did.
So Hidden Naresh was a place in your time. As far as I know, that is where, or somewhere near there, is where I was born. I
Interesting.
did not grow up there because my mother, to the best of my knowledge, attempted to sacrifice me and my brother. Was successful with my brother, but in some way failed with me. I don't know all the details, nor who she was sacrificing us to. But I was found by a priest of the Raven Queen and raised in the temple in Thrice. Well, in that
That is
case,
interesting.
I guess I will move on and find the rest of my companions and compare notes, and we'll see what I think we are going to try and leave the city most likely and see if we can get back to the things that we were working on before coming here.
Yes. I will begin to look into your safe return. I will see who will be able to do that.
That would be appreciated, because I don't know if we are where we were when we first came here.
I can pretty much guarantee you are not.
I think we may be in our time, but I think we have somehow gone to where your city was.
Sounds about right.
So any assistance with transportation, preferably quickly. We did have semi-pressing matters to attend to on pretty much on the other side of the world.
Wait. Are you saying, Kadath, are you suggesting a teleportation from a person that doesn't know where, like, the way the land is now and the way things have changed? We could end up inside a wall of a castle.
I think there are certain things that have not changed.
Oh, so we'll aim for a mountaintop, because that's about all that hasn't changed.
Well,
Even they have probably changed.
Like, we're not talking about a couple of millennia. Like,
and
the
there-
Earth has literally eroded over this time,
and
or not the Earth, the world.
and another thing could fix that you may not understand, but with my knowledge of history, from what I gather, there are those with the ability to do these kind of teleportations a little more by magical means that were from the Second Age. That probably that would not be a hindrance.
Well, I'm not afraid we're going to end up where they don't want us to be. I'm afraid that we're going to end up right where they want us to be, but things have changed since the last time they knew of these places.
I'm not worried. I think the Raven Queen wouldn't allow me to be teleported into somewhere that would be impossible for me to get out of with the assistance of you and our other companions.
So I'm gonna have to fix you too.
It's always possible. I mean, you do enjoy fixing things.
Well, yes, but okay.
So there
But
we go.
if you come back with a clockwork brain, don't blame me.
God, the ego on that guy. Jesus.
And I'll look at the priest and thank him and give him a big bow and all that.
All of you will return in kind.
And head out to probably head towards wherever Seeker was at, the temple he was at.
Kellamborn, unless you guys left.
Kellamborn. That's right. I'll start heading that way.
Is anybody
We're waiting.
reacting to my construct?
No, which totally throws you off guard. Like, they're totally like,
Totally
Ignore
okay
my-
with this.
totally okay with it.
They may not be used to the method.
Is there a shop anywhere nearby?
Yeah, there's shops
There's a
scattered
toy
throughout.
store.
I'm gonna go while we're waiting. I'll tell them where I'm gonna be, but I'm gonna check out one of these shops to see if they've got some cool stuff that I might be able to look at.
They got lots of cool stuff.
I mean, magical stuff.
Gotcha. You will find
You don't have any of the current money, though.
Yeah, it probably got more valuable because mine is just gold.
that's true. Yours is just gold.
Gold does not lose value.
You will find shops that have magical items. You do not find a magical shop because it seems like magic is very prevalent. Pretty much anything that is considered common,
Okay.
and most things that might be considered uncommon, you will most likely be able to find within reason because this is a limited city. It's got to supply itself.
I'm more interested in their prices, though.
For some things that are simple, as in like healing potions, potions of like strength, almost more utilitarian, prices are very reasonable. They're probably about 50% of what Kassoon probably says, honestly.
You say 50%?
Yeah, like they're very reasonable. Like healing potions, 25 gold.
Wow.
Potions of giant strength, about half the cost. Potions of probably things like that would give you the same similar benefits of like Cat's Grace and things like that are very utilitarian that can aid you with things to be done throughout the city kind of thing. And of course healing potions because people still get hurt. They're like at half the cost. Anything that doesn't seem utilitarian, especially weapons, are probably double the cost of what's on Kassoon.
So a wand of
Because
magic missiles would be 2,000, not 500?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm still waiting for the guy in the temple to come and get us for when we have our meeting. I'm just looking, shopping,
All right.
window shopping.
Okay. You guys head out of the Raven Queen's temple. Forsyth, I'm assuming you're still following.
That I am.
Okay. You meet up. Evangeline is kind of hanging out at the temple. You see Evangeline.
I'm
will
outside.
inform you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Will inform you that Seeker, went to the shop, and she could point to which shop he's at because they keep an eye on each other. And
I'll probably head over to the shop.
okay. You find the same thing, obviously. So if you're interested in something in particular, if it looks utilitarian, it's half the cost of Kassoon. If it looks more like weapons, damage dealing, even armor, like things like that, they're going to be like double the cost.
Well,
We'll head that way once the whole party is together.
A decanter of endless water is very utilitarian. How much is that?
Very utilitarian, and yes, it would be half the cost. Well, it's
If it
probably
existed.
it's not even half the cost. It's going to be like, because in Kassoon it's stupidly overpriced, and I don't care what
Really
anybody
is.
says.
Yeah, it really is.
Because it's not that big of a game breaker.
That depends
I
on
would say-
if you convince your DM to allow you to break the game with it, is what it comes
You
down to.
won't.
Yeah, if you read it exactly how it's written, it's not really a game breaker.
It can be
So,
made to be
anyway.
one easily.
It would probably be a decanter of endless water would probably be 100 to 150 gold. I'd say 100 gold.
I'd buy one.
Okay.
Is there more than one?
There's
You
a
will
couple.
never be thirsty again.
I
You
will.
never
I
be
will buy
thirsty
one.
again. All right. You really
Yes,
only need
around
one.
the world.
Yes,
As
sir.
a matter of
I
fact,
bought it first.
as
That's
you're
okay. I bought
walking-
it second.
As you're walking
Okay, I'm
I
not buying
didn't
it
buy
at
it.
as you're walking through the streets and whatnot and seeing people mill about and whatnot, you do notice that the fountain is flowing. I mean, and as you look at it, you're going to notice that there is essentially a decanter of endless water type of spell on that fountain.
Oh, that's smart.
It's just constantly going.
Do they have a bag of holding there?
They will indeed. That's very utilitarian.
Okay, I'm
I'd
gonna
like
get
to
a
get
bag
one of them too.
bag of holding and like 4 potions of heat of whatever the second level of potion of greater healing. Or
And how much
maybe
is
not
a
4
helm
of
of
them, but-
comprehending languages? It's 600 in Kassoon. How much is it here?
For comprehend languages, I'm going to say it's probably
Nice.
400.
Oh, I buy that too.
They all speak pretty much the same language, so it's kind of it's useful when you have visitors, but they haven't had visitors in so long. It's just kind of like, it's that.
I'm gonna
Very
stop looking because I'm getting giddy.
So, all right. After a little bit, you will have somebody, approach you. They seem to have the symbol of Kalimvor out.
How about a helm of brilliance?
Brilliant. That one is that one's rough. That one's probably the same cost as Kassoon, whatever that one would be, because it does
Okay, what
aid
about-
you utilitarian wise, but it's also armor, so it's going to be the same cost.
What about a belt of what is ogre strength?
That would be
Or
about half the
razors.
cost. Half the cost of
Okay.
whatever's on Kassoon.
I unfortunately have problems getting into Kassoon because,
Oh, no.
well, for some reason it tells me.
What about?
Oh no, I got in there. Okay, so let
Okay.
me look up the ogre
I
strength.
was like, I was
Okay.
getting ready to look.
Don't see a belt of ogre strength. I see a belt of a hill giant strength.
Those gauntlets of ogre power.
Right.
Gauntlets of Ogre Power.
That would be double
are-
because it's a weapon, or no?
Gauntlets of Ogre Power will be the same cost as Kassoon because it is
Okay.
armor, yet it's utilitarian.
Okay, so let me see if I have enough.
700.
Oh, I got more than enough. Yeah, I got more than enough. So
How
let me
about
look up.
What about if I want to sell a weapon that's +1?
A weapon that's +1, you'll get quarter the cost.
I hate to do shopping, Jody, but at these prices, we'd be fools not to.
Yep.
Lantern of Revealing. I promise that's my last one.
Lantern of Revealing. I don't have need of that in the city.
So normal price then.
The normal price, because
Okay.
it's not really armor or weapon, so it'd be the normal price.
Roger that.
Okay, I'm gonna get a. Actually, I'm gonna go first look and see what I've got as far as attunement items. I've only got one. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and buy myself, spend the 700 and get a belt of ogre or a gauntlets of ogre power. Would those still apply in beast form?
You
Well,
no. Your
no.
physical strength, your
Okay.
physical attributes are replaced with the creatures.
Uh-huh.
That,
The ar-
yeah, I'm gonna get. Okay, go ahead.
I was gonna say the armor that you have, the skin sheath works because it is literally attached to your skin, so it's gonna shift and be a quote unquote attached to the animal skin. That's why it works that way.
All right.
But most things they don't work.
Okay. Well, I'll also get a bag of holding. Since I don't have one of those, I don't believe. So, that you said that wasn't 500, but 250, or
The bag of
bag of
holding,
yeah.
yeah, it'll be half the cost of what's on consume.
So 250. Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. So 950 total. Okay, I have enough for that. And a bit more. Thanks to the graciousness of my hosts.
This is true. All right.
Or the stupidity.
So if I want to buy a magical item, it's going to cost me double. A magical weapon.
If it's a weapon,
Magical weapon, yes.
But if I sell one, it's going to give me quarter.
Nope, because they have no need for it in this city.
Okay.
well, shouldn't they let us take the weapons off their hands since they don't need them? Like, just give them.
For a whole lot less money?
Yeah, just give them to us since they don't
It's
need
a rarity thing at that point.
Yeah, one would think, but it's super rare. It's not necessary, and therefore they don't just want people to have them either.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Can't fault me for trying.
Yeah.
So my strength will go from 8 to 19.
Wow. Dang.
Oh, that's what the
I forgot.
gauntlets do for you.
Yeah, I forgot it gave you a flat strength score.
I hate looking things up on this thing.
Well, if you have in mind what you want,
Okay. I got the
that's
little
what you
tiny
do.
small amount of stuff I wanted.
Yep.
Bag of holding and 4 potions of greater
And
healing.
4 potions. Yep.
See, like the headband of intellect takes you to 19 intel score, but
All right.
All right. So you will have someone from the Temple of Kellamvor come up and approach you, Evangeline and Seeker, as you walk out of the shop. He'll nod to you as well. He'll say, Chancellor Belisnar will be able to see you as soon as you are ready. And
I
he will
go.
stand there.
I look to Evangeline. Have you seen the others? I've been kind of distracted.
They're kind of walking out of a shop about this time.
We have a meeting with the council. Would you be so kind to join us, fellows?
Absolutely. And
Very well.
I've learned some interesting things, which I will share later.
He'll say, please follow me. And he will begin to walk off kind of toward the center of the city, toward about where the Great Library is, or Great Archive. And so you walk in, or you walk that direction. It's a building kind of across the way from that. He'll walk in. You walk into an open room that's circular in nature. You walk in, there's a few benches off to the right and to the left, but there's a big open area in the middle. There seems to be a second level that has more of like an auditorium almost setting. You do see several people sitting up there. They seem to all be investments of some kind, robes and whatnot. You can kind of pick up, this is probably where the priests and priestesses and various members of the council probably sit when they're holding a full council or whatever. But he'll lead you into that open area, and he'll stop in the middle. You will see in front of you, you will see 3 people in front of you. One in the center, who seems to be on a raised pedestal, and then one to either side. The one in the center is a elf a male elf who is seated there in the center. The one to his left is a human, also male. And the one to his right is female. And is also an elf. The person that leads you in, sorry, I was marking my notes. The person that leads you in stops in the center and says, Chancellor Belisnar, these are the visitors who wish to speak to you. And he kind of gives a bow, steps aside, and steps kind of behind you. And the Chancellor will say, good day.
Good day, Chancellor.
We are listening. Who speaks for your group?
Well, I am the one who arranged the meeting, but I'll do my best. I'm not known for talking to people. I'm rather straight and to the point, which I've been told can be off-putting.
Would it be best to have another speak for your group?
Only if you wish it. It's your city, after all.
Well, I'll leave that to your group. I don't care.
Then I just start talking. Okay, so the reason why I'm here is I don't know if you've been apprised of the situation, but the gods have been forgotten in the time that I've come from. The great cataclysm that befell you when the gods were fighting, that predicated your removal of yourselves from the prime material plane to wherever it is that we are now, happened, but the gods are having a resurgence. As you can see from my armor, I am a worshiper of Kelemvor. This gentleman is a worshiper of Gond, and this one of what's her name?
The Raven Queen.
The
Raven Queen.
And what is, I forget what you have, Evangeline. Who you serve?
I don't serve anybody.
That's
the Order of Truth.
I serve the Order of Truth.
of us have realized that though they are forgotten in our times, they are very real to us three individuals, and as the members of our party are starting to realize, are very much real. We have been through many different encounters that have taken us to places that frankly shouldn't exist, but at the behest of the gods themselves, including Ao and Shantea and Joaquin and the ones I've mentioned before, they have sent us as a bit of a strike force to correct and put things in order. They usually give us guidance through a tarot card of some kind. My compatriot here, his name is Fix, is very proficient with time and measuring it and studying it. In fact, he is responsible for fixing your, for lack of a better word, we know it as an orrery, but I don't know what you call it here, which took you from being in your ethereal state that we found you in back to the meat state that you find yourselves back in now. We do know that 8 of the cities were destroyed, but there's still others that we can confirm are still here, with various entrances being easy to very difficult to assess. Some of them hundreds of feet in the air, some of them below ground, some of them in puzzles that no one from our time can seem to understand. But we thought it best to let you know we're here and what we're here for, and would ask for any wisdom or guidance you might have, especially if you have a tarot card of some kind that is in a place that you can't explain. Did I miss anything, gentlemen and ladies? I say, I don't know.
They call it the timepiece.
Oh, the timepiece. Thank you, Fix.
And one additional thing that I believe we haven't been able to confirm, but is highly suspected, is that we not only pulled them out of their ethereal state, but it appears that we pulled them into our world, but we are in their city where it was.
If either of you esteemed council members could confirm that, if you have a way to look outside, seeing as we see us as inside of a sphere that is we cannot see the outside of.
The chancellor will turn to the female on the right and say, you will hear him say, Rima, can you please confirm our location? Rima will give a slight nod, and you will see her eyes kind of turn white for a moment. And it takes about a minute, and then they kind of clear up. And she will say, Chancellor, we are where we have been for the last 450 years.
Yes. I've heard that number repeated multiple times, or twice at this point. That is one other thing, or that it's more of a continuation of what I said a moment ago. It appears that it's not been 450 years, but perhaps a few thousand. I don't know the exact time frame because, well, your city seems to have disappeared around the end of the second age, what we call the second age, or perhaps the beginning of the third age. And when we live is now the ninth age. An age doesn't really have a specific number of years. It's more of an era of time within the world when major events may happen to distinguish one age from another. But because of how long things have, or how long it's been with different ages, I'd say we are at least a couple thousand years beyond where you thought you were.
Interesting.
I think it may be able to be more well defined at some later time, but for now, just know that more time has passed than you realized.
The chancellor will look to his left, to the other person, and say, Kashano, can you tell how much time has passed? I mean, to us, it's 450 years, but are you able to see? And you will see him pull out a parchment and open it up. He just pulls it out of his side pouch and unrolls it in front of him and looks at it, traces a few things with his hand. Everybody will recognize he's doing some sort of magic. And he kind of reads it over. Says, no, according to my magic, it's been 450 years since we experienced the shift. He will just say the shift.
Well, yeah. So your magic, the timepiece, whatever magic you had imbued there, I think what happened is that it took you out of time and slowed it for you compared to what we experience. And there's like a light bulb and fixes that, and that's why I felt like I was gonna throw up the whole time we were in here.
Kashana will go, that makes sense, Chancellor. That is a possibility. And it would also affect the distinction of time within the sphere. If I should leave the sphere, I may be able to distinguish time better,
More accurately.
Do you
more
have
accurately.
one who can delve into memories?
Yes.
Perhaps I can give you or this person some visions of what our world is from our time.
We can arrange that. Chancellor? The Chancellor looks to you and says, yeah, let us arrange that. He will look up to a specific spot and he will motion and look back at you. It's going to take a little bit of time. Anybody who follows his gaze, you're going to see
I follow.
a young lady stand up and begin to make her way to what you
Down.
assume would be stairs or whatever. She's
Right.
going to make her way down.
Sent you a text, Jody.
I can also provide.
I take that as a no. Okay.
I don't know. I think it might be fun.
I can also provide a general idea of the timeline since the Second Age, at least with certain events from certain ages. There's a lot that is missing, but I've been able to piece together some things that we thought were lost.
Done.
Okay. That could be fun. What was that? To piece back time that has been lost?
Basically, to give them a general idea of the timeline and
Okay.
since the Second Age.
Yeah, they will
At least the parts that I know.
take down some information, and you will see the Chancellor writing some things, but seems like Rima is writing the most. After a little bit, the young priestess, she walks in and she steps forward.
Evangeline, are you sure you want to allow people to like poke around in your head? They broke my watch.
Well, hopefully my head's a little more sturdy.
Probably not.
There are fewer moving parts.
That's true. Evangeline would be sure because she doesn't have much wisdom.
Well,
Fix looks to the priestess and just he's like, "Stay away from my head."
I will only search the memories of those who choose to be searched. That's I don't do anything forcibly. That is not my nature.
Good to hear that. He still takes a step back away from her. And it's sort of behind Kadeth.
Just in case I explode.
And I'll just giggle. Or at least laugh lightly to myself.
All right. Well, she is there. Who would like me to read their memories?
I'll let her read mine. I don't care.
I'll do a Vulcan mind meld with her.
All right. She puts her fingers just no. It's some
Do I look like Kim
uncomfortable.
Cattrall?
Oh man. So, yeah. I can't do it with my headphones. My headphones get in the way. Anyway, so she does. She kind of lays her hand upon kind of the side of your head, and she casts the spell, and you will feel it. As long as you're not going to fight it, you don't need to roll a save because you're going to allow it to happen. She will begin to. You will see her eyes kind of. She closes her eyes, but you can see them kind of twitching underneath her eyelids as she's flipping through your memories, basically. How much do you let her see? Anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
I let her see all about me.
Yeah, Fix
Okay.
won't. I mean, not Fix. Seeker won't hide anything either.
It's all right. It's like having children. I call everybody the wrong name, so it's all good. So she will read through your memories, and when she's done, she pulls it back. It takes a couple of minutes, and she just stands there with her eyes closed. She pulls her hand away, and she stands there with her eyes closed for a moment. After a moment, because she's processing. After a moment, she'll open her eyes and say, "Would you like to be read?"
To me?
Yes.
Yeah, I said I'd let her.
Okay. She will do the same to you. Eyes closed, eyes flicker. Takes a couple of minutes. She pulls her hand away and she keeps her eyes closed for a minute. Then she opens her eyes. Anyone else?
Sure, why not?
All right.
Oh, this all could be good.
Raise your hand up.
Let's see.
You see her eyes flitter?
Have you prepaid for your therapist bills?
I know, right? Her eyes
Who
flitter
knows
for a
when I'll
little
get
bit.
therapy again?
She takes her hand away and she keeps her eyes closed. Only this time, most of the time, her expression is like, she's just thinking through things, letting it process. This time, her expression kind of gets a little like that was weird.
A little bit
That was
shocked.
odd. That was. She'll open her eyes and she will look at you, Forsyth, and she'll say, "I've never met someone like you before."
Not
Nobody's met
many
anyone like me
have.
before.
Count your blessings.
It is interesting.
He did
Thank
it, didn't
you
he?
for your memories.
He did it, didn't he?
Probably. But
You
anyways,
would have to specify. I am not going to admit to any guilt or innocence.
Would I?
I hold memories, which is true. But because I hold memories, those memories are sacred. I am not called upon to witness anything.
I will look at her and tell her she can share anything she found in my memories.
She will turn to the Chancellor and she'll say, "Though it is the same world, it is quite different. This ninth world, as it has been explained, is human run, and many are not kind to outsiders.
Tell me about it.
They keep mostly to one area in which they call the steadfast. However, the area in which we once resided in is now called the beyond. It is more wild. More mutations exist. Other races, such as yourself, Chancellor, reside. Few and far between. And then even beyond that is a place they call beyond the beyond, that none of these have visited. They only have knowledge that there is a place such as exists.
Might I ask a question?
Yes,
Does the name Vel Sharoon mean anything to you?
indeed.
And I
It
need
is
your... Go ahead. Sorry.
he is a god of undeath, necromancy.
How would one go about destroying one of his artifacts?
Depending on the artifact, there are some
It's
magic.
called, yes, it's called the Orb of Vel Sharoon.
Orb of Belshazzar. That is an artifact of which I do not know.
Would you care to look at it?
Let's not and pretend that we did.
She looks
Because
a little concerned, like,
I think that Val Sharoon, in some form, possibly might be in that orb.
More reason to destroy it. If these, with the level of magic that I see displayed in this city, perhaps their capabilities are greater, almost assuredly greater than ours.
Destroyed, good. Look at, I'm not so sure about.
Well, yeah, she has a point. I was able to view either himself or an essence of himself inside the item that I carry, which is the urgency with which I want to destroy it.
And he attacked me.
Myself as well, but he was unsuccessful.
That would require something different than I.
Damn it.
You could tell that she's kind of thinking through it, you know. Like, I don't know that she will kind of turn to Rima and say, and kind of give her a little nod and say, Chief Advisor, perhaps you know of one who could destroy such an artifact, especially if it contains an essence of, at least, of a god, or what is believed to be an essence. Rima says, I will have to look into that. That I am unsure.
I don't suggest interacting with it. The entity is caged and angry.
I can imagine. Well, I guess first we should, as she's thinking through it, you can tell that she's probably, well, maybe. Roll me your insight.
I'm really good at that now. A 23.
Nice. Based on what you're gleaning, she's probably one of the more powerful magic users in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And she takes most things, she's kind of flipping through her Rolodex in her head. She doesn't pull anything out in front of her, you know. Even when she did her magic or whatnot, she didn't have anything in front of her. And she kind of locks everything in her head. But you're gleaning that even the priests and priestesses that are around here look to her for when it comes to magical guidance in many ways.
As did I.
Yeah. And so she kind of thinks about it. She's like, we probably should first establish if we are in our time or yours.
Of course,
what kind of time
I didn't want to forget such an important detail.
I think there is a way we can do that rather quickly if you have means of magical teleportation between cities. If someone here possesses that ability.
Teleportation we do have, but you will need specifically our plane walker.
Rather than teleportation, do you have sending?
Well, I have sending. I have my
Yes.
sending stones, which I could confirm with that.
Think that before we end up in a mountain.
And I'll just smile. I don't think we'll end up in a mountain, but I will do that first, Fix. And I'll go ahead and pull out my stone and just send a message to wow, my mind just went blank.
Erwin, does he have the other
Erwin,
one?
yeah.
Okay.
I'll send a message to Erwin. What's the name of this city?
Shaji.
Fuzzy.
I'll just say we found a city called Shaji that seems to be from another time. More details when I return to the city.
I'm starting to feel like I'm playing Shadowrun again. Please see other book.
Well, it just uses the sending spell, so.
Yeah, I know. I was hoping that the stones would tell me, though. Do you get a response? That is the question of which I am
Yes.
answering.
I think.
Okay. I need you to roll me percentile.
Okay. Uh, 94. Wow.
Ooh. Okay. You will get a response. Shaji?
And I'm assuming I recognize the voice.
Yeah, it's Erwin. It's like, where in the hell is that?
And I'll
What's a
I'll look
Saji?
around.
What's a Saji?
I'll look to everyone else and say, yes, I can confirm that we are indeed in the Ninth Age. That was my master.
Okay.
Huh.
Interesting.
Is it safe to surmise that we're in a pocket realm right now within our own timeline, then? That would confirm it, yes?
I think it's possible, at least,
Fascinating.
that, but it's also possible that when Fix repaired, quote unquote,
Fixed.
their
When fixed.
device.
Man, that was my goal, and Robert fell for it.
Well, for what?
Fixed.
Oh.
When Fix repaired their device, I think it's possible that their city was pulled out of the pocket dimension or whatever it was in that it had been in and was put back in place in our world.
In the material world.
RV world.
How does time feel?
That clock. Check that timepiece.
It stopped.
It
Is
stopped.
It
It still stopped. It
Okay.
still stopped. The Chancellor will kind of hold up his hand when you mention material world. So that's where I think we're running into some problem. See, we're not in the material world.
Well, where are you?
Well, I'm a material girl, so
I'm a Barbie girl.
Dimension in your own time. Yes.
And can a sending stone go across planes?
Yes.
Okay.
Can indeed.
yeah.
We are currently what I believe to be known as the astral plane.
Which is why it's dark.
So perhaps we were pulled into the astral plane as opposed to pulling the city into the material plane.
Perhaps.
But in our timeline. Or in
We
our
are
time period.
spirits in the material world.
Yes. Material. Yes, did they materialize or did you dematerialize?
Ah, it's a pickle.
Well, I think the easiest way to answer some of these questions would be to attempt to leave the city in one
But
way
we
or
came in
another.
as fish.
And for that, you will need our plane walker.
Are we welcome back once we leave, though?
You are indeed. Should you be able to find your way back?
Just that the gods have not really pointed out what it is that they wish for us to do here, like they did in the last 3 instances of their tasks.
I'm not fully convinced that they sent us here, as it were.
I don't know about you
they
guys.
took advantage of the situation, but
I don't know. With Gond apparently presenting me these tools, I think that he wanted me to fix the damn timepiece.
Definitely, Kellenborg wanted me to have this skin for, I assume, things coming in the future.
And you literally took a bloodbath with your god.
So yes, I think they wanted us here.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that those things didn't happen for a reason. I'm just saying that it's possible that this was not planned at this moment, but that they took advantage of it happening now.
Wait, weren't you the one that was telling me not to try to figure out what the gods want? The gods do what they want, how they want it, and now you're trying to figure out the gods and telling us that it's not the way the gods want. Like, which is it, Cadet? You please.
I'm just saying that we don't know.
They never
Everybody
said we
else-
couldn't bitch about it.
Everybody else will see the Chancellor look up in a spot in the overhead and kind of motion.
And I will look at them and I will say, see, Fix? Exactly why? If there ever really were gods to begin with, why everybody forgot about them, because they're way too confusing.
Well, you're not completely wrong there. But with that being said, we did have something we were doing near
Weirfall.
Wherever you
Weirfall. Yeah. Well, there was something we were planning to do near Castle Aventure.
Oh, we had to go find Forsyth's girly friend.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I think time is maybe
Of
not
the
short,
essence?
but yes, important.
Well, if this headache of time is slowed us down in our world, then hopefully we have not spent as much time there as we have here.
I have a question for the Chancellor.
Yes.
There are 7 other cities. The Tomi.
Okay.
Say whatever with a C. Canum.
Kamum.
Dagon.
Yeah.
Kir-
See that?
Kirali.
Girali.
Karali.
Benalera. Benalera. Yeah, Benalera.
Yes.
Varus. Ooh. Idrift or Adrift.
Idris.
And Osnu.
Mm-hmm.
These cities. Did they go to the ethereal plane as well?
Not that I'm aware of. We are hoping that what we created here protected the remaining cities.
These cities we do not know. However, there are monoliths in those locations. The locations of those cities on your map coincide with locations of monoliths on maps of our world.
So if millennia has passed, it is quite possible what we did, though we were shoved aside apparently to the astral plane, did indeed protect those cities if you have evidence of those cities in your ninth world.
We do not.
Well,
You said there were
those monoliths.
There were monoliths. Could possibly those monoliths be entrances to those cities?
Possibly, I suppose. I mean, when we were shoved to the astral plane, I do not know what came of anybody else.
To coin a phrase from this world, this city, interesting.
The chancellor will smile. You like to learn. About this time, you're going to see a dark elf
A drow?
walk out from the opposite side of where the priestess was. Walk out. He is dressed in dark leathers. He has kind of a light blue tunic or undershirt, dark blue breeches, but he's wearing like basically black leather armor per se. He does carry a sword. He's got silvery hair that is braided in multiple braids, kind of just hanging down. And he walks out and he looks up. He says, I am Planewalker Manoverin.
Really?
Yep. Hey, you wanted to be a
Is this somebody's
Manoverin.
character?
He is different though.
Is this someone's other character?
Yeah, this is my
It's an
character from
NPC
another
from
campaign.
another campaign.
Okay.
From the campaign that Kadath's
That he's doing a character study on.
other version is from.
Okay.
I am Planewalker Manoverin. I can get you back to the material plane.
That would be appreciated.
Tell me, counselor, now that you're, what did you call it, Fix? The aura
Timepiece.
Now that your timepiece is running again, what does that mean for your city?
Now they're running out of time.
I don't know. The future is yet to be determined.
Very well then. Should you require anything of us, kind of know how to get to us via your planeswalker.
We do indeed.
I'm ready to go if you guys are. I don't
Yeah,
really know
pretty
what else
much.
to do here.
Oh yeah. Fix is like, I'm tired of feeling sick.
I've just got motions. My sea legs are not ready.
Yeah,
Um,
just wait till we go across plains, Fix. You're gonna
I am
love
ready
that.
to be
Oh,
out
he'll
of
be
this
fine once
place
time is
because there's
normal.
way too much information to type.
Sorry, bit of an info dump week.
It is info dump. That's what happens when you hit a city from your past.
And we do lots of studying.
Manovrin will look at you and say, "Do you have a map of your current, the ninth world?"
Do we?
We do because we overlaid the map on it.
Yeah, there we go.
All right.
So we can actually tell them where we're at compared to where we were and
And
where we think we
he
are.
will roll it out onto a small table that's kind of set up there. He will roll it out. He'll say, "Point to where you need to go."
And where do we need to go?
Weirfall.
Okay.
Fearful.
Because Weirfall is where we where we were, and I think we need to let them know that we've somewhat solved their problem.
And what was their problem?
Or caused them a bigger problem. I don't know that they had a problem. What if all the water sprite leave because we did this to the city?
Well,
Well, too late to worry about that now.
yeah, I mean, I'm not sure there's anything we can do about that.
Let's go then.
Call up the sprites. Hey. All right. And he will kind of touch the area where Weirfall is. Concentrate for a minute. He will say, "Come,
I go.
take hands."
I go. Take hand.
Yep.
All right. You all take hands. He will cast the spell, and you get pulled and stretched in all kinds of different directions. Yeah, Fix, this is making you feel even worse. You're probably going to throw up when you get to the other side. And all of a
I
sudden,
don't want to be in front of Fix. I don't want to be behind Fix either.
it's coming out both ends.
Yeah, no.
I'm going to be on the side of Fix.
You get pulled and stretched, and finally he steps out without too much trouble on the ground. Matter of fact, you drop down about a foot, so there was a little bit of misjudgment there, but hey, you'll take it. You didn't end up in the side of a mountain.
There you go.
You drop down about a foot as he steps through. I need everybody to roll me a Constitution.
Constitution.
We'll do a saving throw. I'll let you do a saving throw.
No different. 4.
17.
Ooh,
Oh, there's a big
4.
19.
18.
Okay, Fix, you managed to hold your lunch.
I'm a
Holy
dwarf.
Jeff.
Of course I did. I'm sturdy.
So, Kadeath and Forsyth, please describe how your characters come out of this. You feel like you've been twisted and torn and stretched, and then you drop about a foot before your feet hit the ground.
And my legs buckle, and I land flat on my face, and I'm not moving for a minute.
I look like I'm fine for a second, but then I turn and try and find a bush.
Fix, your feeling of sickness about time is ebbing. It's leaving. And the three of you, though you feel stretched and pulled, and you drop about a foot as you show up, and you're looking at Weirfall. Basically, you're just outside the city. You're looking at Weirfall, and you drop down about a foot. You had to take a couple of steps because that was weird. Take a moment to regain yourself, but you're on your feet and you didn't retch.
Evangeline comes out. Whee!
That was fun. Let's do that again.
Do it again.
Because like
Ah.
anytime we get to do that again, I'd like to.
Well, now that I know what to expect, I think I'll be fine next time. But that was a
Maneuver and
little
blow.
strange.
I offer
you.
Forsyth some water.
I'll offer some to Kadeth and a mint.
And a mint. Maneuver will turn and look at you and say, I have gotten you close, correct?
Indeed.
Looks like it.
Yes.
How do we contact you again?
Oh, if you have the sending, can you cast the spell sending?
Not at the
Not
moment,
yet.
but
What level spell is
Uh,
that? Second?
Third level.
yeah, third
No.
level.
I could. I think it's a cleric spell. No.
I have no idea what
no.
list it's on.
I can find out.
I'm
It
looking
might
at
be on a couple
I'll tell
different
them
lists.
we can't
Bard, cleric,
test it
wizard.
at
Yeah.
the moment, but
Yeah, so I
we
can.
will find a way to make it possible.
Like,
Very
I
well.
will write.
Eventually.
I will cast Skywrite. Oh.
That I can see from the astral plane. Yeah, perfect.
once I rest, I'd be able to cast it.
Excellent. Feel free to contact me should you need me.
Indeed, I will. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Until then. And you'll see him step off and disappear. And that is where we're going to call it for tonight. You're standing outside Weirfall. And even though there wasn't much combat and a whole lot of experience going on, you will level up.
Yeah.
And you will see on the ground before you a card.
There it is. I told you. See, every time there's a card, look at it. I'll
I'm
go
gonna
and
pick it up.
I've been looking for
What was that,
What-
Kadeth? Huh?
What card?
What?
What card?
I picked it
You
up.
will see what looks like the rogue card. What you know of the rogue card is generally a darkened figure, a thief, a rogue, usually kind of squatted down with a dagger between his legs, usually a red background with a moon, indicating more of an assassin type thing. However, this card he's not squatting, he's kneeling. He has a sign of submission, almost. No dagger. And the background itself is more of a blue.
I apologize.
So
Did we all see the card?
Oh yeah, you'll all see the
Okay,
card.
so I reacted appropriately. Okay.
You'll still see the moon, but it seems to be a blue background, and the rogue is more in a submissive position, kneeling, head bowed, dagger not out.
Aggressive one, murdery kind. Got it.
I have ideas what this may mean, but we can discuss that later.
I'll pick up the card and give it to Kadath, but the whole time he's like, I told you. I knew it was somewhere. Here it is. And I give it to Kadath.
Oh, I figured we would run across one eventually.
Took a while. Well, good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night, good sir.
I'll be home tomorrow if anyone cares, but not that anyone cares. I'm just saying
Yay.
I'll be home in Tucson.
All right.
Safe
Take care,
travel.
Well,
everybody.
safe travels.
Yeah.
A nice
Absolutely.
trip back.
For you viewers, sorry, we kind of forgot there for a second. Thank you for joining us tonight. Sorry, it's a longer one, but hey, we had some time and have things to get through. So if you've enjoyed it, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notifications so you know when we're live or when we post a new video. And we'll see you next Tuesday.